Hey everyone, Angelo Mancios, BehindTheVault.net. Today we're going to talk about 5 TFSA mistakes that people make that you shouldn't. Let's go behind the vault. Okay, so today we're going to talk about 5 TFSA mistakes. But before we get into that, I ask everyone to take 2 seconds, subscribe below, click the bell. This is great information that needs to be pushed out. So the more people subscribe and like, the more likely the information gets out to Canadians who need it. All right, number 1, they mishandle the contribution room. Now, there's a couple ways you can mishandle the contribution room in a tax-free savings account. One is by using it as a bank account where money goes in and out and in and out. And another is by day trading within the account. Remember, when money goes into a tax-free savings account, you chew up the contribution room for the year and then any backfill that you may have. Once you've hit that number, if you continue to keep putting money in, you're going to be penalized for that. So let me give you a quick example. Let's say you've maxed out your tax-free savings account, you pull out $10,000, you go on a trip to Las Vegas, you do a little bit of gambling, and you win $20,000, and then you come back. You can't put that $10,000 back in your TFSA for this year because you've used all the contribution room. Now, you're not going to let that money sit in your bank account making nothing. So now you're going to put it into an investment account. It's going to be taxed as a capital gain when it grows. If you do put that money in the tax-free savings account, the government's going to tax you, I think it's about 1% every month that the money is in there. So you better get it out and make sure you don't exceed that contribution room limit. Number 2, you can permanently lose contribution room. Now, while you're not taxed on the growth of your investments within a tax-free savings account, and remember, you can invest in pretty much anything, stocks, mutual funds, ETFs, commodities, pretty much everything except real estate. When the money goes down, when you lose money in your tax-free savings account, you can permanently lose contribution room if you pull those investments out. So what happens is you put in 10,000, let's say it tanks and goes to 6,000, you panic and you pull, you've lost that $4,000 of contribution room because you originally used 10. The fact that it dropped down to 6 doesn't make a difference. You used 10, right? So, and that doesn't come back. So you can permanently lose room. So remember, when markets are not as healthy, when they're shaky, when they drop, don't panic. They will recover, okay? Make sure though, when it comes to your tax-free savings account, you avoid permanently losing contribution room. Number 3, not planning for next year. Now, here's an example. Let's say you know that next summer you're going to go on a big trip or you're going to do a big renovation, and you know you're going to need money from your tax-free savings account. Now, the wise thing to do is to pull that money out in December out of your tax-free savings account and have it ready and prepped. If you take it out in, say, January or February, then that contribution room is trapped until the following year. Whereas if you take it out in December, remember, come January, the reset button hits and you get new contribution room plus any old contribution room that you haven't used or that you've made withdrawals open back up. So sometimes if you know a big purchase is coming in March, April, even May, it might be smart to just pull that money out in December, throw it in non-reg or something like that. And then when you do the renovation or you go on the big trip, if you want to continue and put that money back or recontribute or whatever, you don't have to wait till the following year for that money to unlock. 4, foreign stocks may be taxable. Wait, what? It's a tax-free savings account. Everything I grow within that tax-free savings account is tax-free, right? In Canada. A lot of countries that people invest in, whether you buy stock in the US or whatever, there are tax treaties. But some countries don't recognize the tax-free benefit of a tax-free savings account. So if you buy a foreign stock that pays a dividend and that dividend gets paid to your tax-free savings account, the country where the stock originates may take a withholding tax for that dividend. So understand that if you're going to buy something within your tax-free savings account, you better know what the foreign dividend rules around that is going to be. So I'll give you a small example. Let's say you bought a US stock Disney, Amazon, Walmart. I'm not saying you should. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm saying let's say you did. Now you're buying a direct stock, so that's a US stock. If Canada and the US didn't have a treaty, they didn't have an understanding, then what would happen is when those companies pay dividends, you would get taxed on it. However, if you were to look at buying, let's say, a Canadian ETF or mutual fund that held those stocks within that fund, it's a Canadian product. So guess what? No tax. So you get the full benefits of it being a Canadian product. So just understand that yes, while the tax-free savings account is, tax-free growth forever, there are some situations where you may still pay the tax because the country you're investing in or the stock you're investing in that's based in the country it runs its business doesn't have a treaty with Canada. Number 5, beneficiary versus successor holder. That's one of the most common mistakes I see people make. So let's talk about the beneficiary. When you name a beneficiary on your tax-free savings account, you're basically saying, hey, if I die, this is who gets the money. And they get that money tax-free. Now, what a successor holder is though, is if you name your spouse, and you can only name your spouse this, if you name your spouse your successor holder, then what happens is they get the tax-free savings account money tax-free, just like as if it were a beneficiary. However, they can now put that money into their tax-free savings account without chewing up any of their contribution room. So let's say each of you have $70,000 in your tax-free savings account, one of you passes away. If you name the other person a beneficiary, now what has to happen is that person goes, great, I got the money tax-free, but I can't continue to grow the money tax-free because my TFSA is maxed. I have to put it in a non-registered account and slowly drip it into the TFSA each year. Had you named that spouse as a successor holder, that 70, 75,000, whatever, goes into the other person's TFSA, doesn't chew up contribution room, and that money can continue to grow tax-free forever or until you pull it out. Okay, so those are 5 mistakes on what not to do with your TFSA. I hope this has helped. You've been Behind the Vault. Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and comment below. There's the subscribe button, and here's our next video.